One of the reasons I bought this motor was it's a 4-stroke. The second reason was it has trim. The previous motor did not have trim. I'm putting it all the way up. Here on the starboard side of the engine is where the trim indicator or trim, I'll call sensor, position sensor will sit. There are 2 holes right here, tapped holes where you screw it into, and it's supposed to mount on the end of this shaft. This shaft goes through, and it's what the cylinder pushes against. The only thing is here, there's something missing on this end of the pin. I'm going to show you the trim position sender and explain what it is we're looking for. This is the trim position sender kit, or they call it trim sender kit, Quicksilver. It's technically obsolete. This is new old stock that I got from somewhere in Manitoba, I think, on eBay. And it comes with some instructions, and this is the actual sender. There's a cable. One of these is ground. Well, let me just explain this. This right here is ground. This right here is the signal that goes out, and this here is, I guess, tan with white stripe or brown with white stripe. It's just an extender to help route it, and you can use this if you need to extend it. That's what it appears to be. It came with a screw, and didn't come with everything. It was missing a couple screws. It came with a well, what it came with. It didn't come with that lock washer. It didn't come with that washer. It just came with this, and this is for mounting the cable up out of the way. There's one spot in the outboard. So I've got a stainless washer from my kit, and this is not stainless, but you won't expect it to be, but this is a lock washer for this bolt. What's missing are the 2 screws for here and washers to help mount it. And I looked that up on a website, was finally able to identify that they were number 10, 24 screws by 3/4 of an inch. And they're just identified here on the listing here as the part numbers. So, but I found out what they were. So let's go see where this is supposed to mount. You see on the back here, this is the side that goes here. This is a key. It's supposed to fit into the end of the shaft. Now, looking at the starboard side of the motor, we can see where it mounts. Here are the 2 threaded holes for the number 10 screws. And there's the end of the shaft that goes through. That's the shaft that the cylinder acts up on. And it's supposed to have a slot in it for that key to fit into. So as the motor raises and so on, this pin is fixed relative to the yoke or clevis or whatever it is you call it. It will have relative motion. It will rotate slightly relative to the motor as it goes up and down. And that's how you get your position, and the trim sensor senses the slight bit of rotation. So where is that slot? Okay, here's the port side of the motor. Mystery is solved. The pin is in backwards. It's got the slot, the keyway facing the port side. It should be out the other way. And this motor, to my knowledge, never had trim on it. It currently doesn't, but at some point it was disassembled, or else when it was assembled at the factory they didn't care. The pin is in backwards. The pin is on some models, I guess, and some varieties, this is actually press fit through that bore. Excuse the roofers in the background, you can hear them yakking. The pin goes through the bore, and this is, on some newer models, evidently it's a screw, I believe. And I was expecting a screw here, and I noticed that, hey, it doesn't have any flats on it. It's got a little head on it, and I can feel the back side of it, just a tiny bit of it protruding, and with a fingernail I can't feel any threads. So I went back to my parts book for my 2001, and it says it is a dowel pin. So now the trick is to get that out, drive this pin out. I'm going to drive it this way because I don't want to drive against the feature there and damage it. I'll just go on the blank end here and drive it through. I'll clean it and reverse it, put it through. I'll have to line up and find the hole again, tap the dowel in. As part of that, I'll have to put on the lock and lower it just a bit until it's just bearing weight. Like, that's pretty good actually. Before I do that though, I want to show you something. It's a feature not used. There's a little hole right here. On some models, I guess you drive a roll pin up through here, or maybe it's threaded, I'm not sure, but it retains this and keeps it locked in this, and then it just slides in there. I don't know, maybe there's a groove in there, but anyhow, there is a hole here for a roll pin or something. I've stuck a little screwdriver up, I can't feel anything in there, so that's just a feature used on some models, I guess. But for us, we'll drive that pin out this way and pop that off, and let's see how I am going to do it. I attempted to see if there was some way I could drive that pin out from the back side here, like through the motor mount somehow, and there's no way to get at it. So I'm going to try a variety of tools, like trim fastener type tools, and even this I made as a screwdriver I butchered once upon a time as a special tool. We're going to try and pry things out, and we're going to see what happens. Trim tool first. It's got a little bit of aggressive taper on it, and I've got this little hammer. Yeah, I don't know. That's going to do it. I really would like to. It has moved. That's a good sign. Coming. Okay, well, it came that far. There we go. Hope it's not bending. Okay, well, I'll get something here. Get a little purchase on it. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Look at that. There it is. Feels like a nail. Yeah, okay. Now I'll try and drive from this end. We'll drive it out. Before I touch anything, I just want to be able to find that hole again when I put it back together to a line. And it looks like that hole is, it's not quite in line with this. I hope it would be. But it actually looks like it is a few degrees up. So it's not directly in line with that. It's just a little bit up. But we'll worry about that when we get to reassembly. Okay, I thought I'd put a little support on the motor. The cylinder's holding it up right now, but it might drift later or who knows what. And I do have that lock on the other side with just bare pressure on it, but I'm going to be driving that pin out, and later on I may need to just lift the motor to hair when I'm lining up to put that dowel pin back in. So I just thought I'm going to have that as extra safety for whatever might happen. Who knows, hard to predict. Okay, I'm going to give that a tap or two and see what happens. See if it can be persuaded. Oh, look at that. It's tapping out. It's a nice slip fit. And if I hit it anymore, it will just fall out the other side. Let's go around and take a look. I think I can prise it out with my fingers. So let's get this adjusted down here. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Whoa. Okay, that cylinder just dropped back. That's all. That's all. So we'll look at this. It's a little dirty. It's not really worn or anything. It's got that hole, and it's nice to see the hole's got a little bit of a relieved hole around there, so it'll help guide the dowel pin in when we drive it through. And when we look at it, actually that hole is in line with the flat, so that will be a pretty good guideline. That makes sense when you manufacture something to make it for assembly. Okay, we're going to wipe this off, lubricate it with a little of the Quicksilver marine grease, and we'll slide it in here. We'll try and get the position here, the keyed in with the screwdriver, and drive that little pin in. Okay, a little bit of a, barely, oh, I have more pressure than I thought in there. Just wiping that down with some brake clean. It's not the chlorinated stuff, so it's not as bad to handle. It is a solvent though. It's got alcohols and other things in it. And that's cleaned up just fine. I'll go find the Quicksilver grease. And I found the grease. Before I put the grease in, I should probably try and clean that hole a little bit. Come on, before that evaporates. Yep. Okay, do the other side. Yeah, getting the other side. I'm pleased how that pin finally came out. That dowel pin, how to get it out for sure mystified me. I just didn't want to destroy it while trying to take it out. Okay. Time for a little of the marine grease, the 2,4-C. It's basically waterproof grease. It's kind of tacky, and it's got Teflon in it, so. So I'll put a little in each bore. Use my little finger. Okay. I'm going to lightly tap this in this way from the other side, so you're going to see the see that up here. Line wow, it maintained perfect alignment there. I'm just tapping it with my hand. I just use the palm of my hand. It's not a tight fit at all. The only reason it came out a little bit hard before was probably through the hardened grease. So there's a flat right there. Now I'm going to line up this flat with the hole here and drive the dowel pin back in. And we get a decent sized screwdriver here. And just rotate. Whoa, 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 don't push it through. I'm just rotating while pushing the dowel in. Bingo, it's there. And it is indeed a good press fit. So let's gently tap and see if it wants to go in. Yeah, it wants to go in. I'm not making a new hole or anything. It's in. Okay. Now for the record, these 1024 blind tap holes here, they're blind holes. They were filled with gunk. I had to use some spray clean, brake clean to blast them out, and I ran the screw in and out, so they're clean enough. So we're given this extra lead here. I don't think we'll need it because this lead is very long, and this needs to be located here, and I have to figure out the orientation and fish this up to the fish this side up into the motor. I'll figure that out, then I'll get a good camera view for folks. I'm going to put these 1024 screws in finger tight. They're stainless steel from my own collection, since they didn't supply them. I had to, it's a very tight fit, that I'll call it the key into the slot, and you have to be careful not to press too hard, but to work it in and push it down, and there's a little bit of a spring to it there. Okay, I'm going to do this finger tight because there may be some adjustment afterwards. Now here, these happen to be Robertson, so that's Robertson stainless steel. And that's actually my favorite kind. Phillips doesn't drive as well, and after a few uses, stainless steel tends to be corrupted and you have to replace it anyhow, so Robertson lasts just a little bit longer. And anyhow, it's what I had. So there's a lot of stuff on this boat with screws of all kinds. Now, that washer, no, just be careful. It feels, this holds a little, okay, there we go. I didn't want to strip anything, cross-thread it. So this is just roughly in place. Well, silly me, I should have remembered this from reading the instructions earlier. The ground wire here goes under one of the mounting screws. And lower this, watch you very carefully. It's all clear. I've fished the cable here for the tack position sensor. It's fished up through here per the instructions, and they're supposed to be on the mount here. Whoops, where can you see? They're supposed to be, where's my hand? There we are. They're supposed to be, there's the greaser for the main tilt bearing. There's supposed to be there's a little flat boss here. It's not tapped. There's a little bit of a flat boss there. It's not drilled or tapped. So that's where you're supposed to fasten that with a padded clamp. So instead, what I will do, I will just leave a little bite, I guess you call it, a little loop, and I will zip tie it to here. I won't directly zip tie it to that. I'll put a zip tie around that and then put another zip tie through it and through this hole here. So that's like a little standoff. Okay. It comes routed from under the bracket. Around here, it is zip tied to this tiller, I'll call it bell crank, with 2 zip ties, and it comes around here underneath. It goes through the grommet here. I've just put it under the shift cables. Comes through here. I'll tie it up this excess, but it is attached here. Here's the tan with white stripe, and that's what this is. This is what comes out of the harness, which goes back through there and up to the helm. Hello, it's 2 weeks in the future. I've come to interrupt the video to let you know the routing here did not work. I had it through here. That ends up being a pinch point when the motor is fully tilted up, and it crushed the wire. So I had to take the wire. I found a new routing point. There is a hole here. I put shrink wrap around the cable, ran it through, and it exits out the bottom here and is routed up to the trim sensor. So this works well. There's no pinch point. So you can go back to the regular video and find out what happens in the end in terms of this trim sender and the trim gauge in the cockpit, the problem that I noted there. Yeah, the motor's there. It's partially tilted up, just a hair. And here's the captain station, the wheel. Trim gauge is down here. Here's our control. Let's see what happens. I'm going to turn the key on, see if we get any indication. Oh, I don't want to actually start it, but oh, look, we've got a trim indication that says halfway. So I'm going to, actually I have to put, I'm just moving that ahead so I can get access to the trim switch better. That's going down, yet that says up. So I think I have to turn the thing 180 degrees, as chance would have it. Yep, there I'm going for full up, and it's saying down. So let's go back. I'll continue putting the motor up all the way. That's up all the way. I'll go back and I'll reverse that sensor. That's 2 screws. So I've tried some swapping and doing different things. I give up. The only thing I can think is that this gauge is assuming a sender mounted on the port side, whereas we have it mounted on the starboard side. So for now, I'm just happy to have a trim indicator, and I'll admit partial success, but some defeat. I'll just read it backwards. And good luck to you, whatever you do, and hope this has been interesting.